Hello everyone, this is part 7 of What If Naruto Was Betrayed and Planned It All, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Naruto was sitting down in one of the chairs in his personal library as he closed his eyes to enter his mindscape. When he entered, the QB was silent. He already knew that Naruto wasn't there for him. Naruto was there for the figure standing in the shadows. I take it that you are the one that was talking in my mind before. During that moment with Hinata, Naruto said. He could see the figure shift. It was nodding. Well, then I think I understand. I really am walking a thin line if you're here. So then tell me, what part are you? The figure chuckled. Think about my words. It should be obvious. Naruto thought for a moment before he chuckled as well. I guess you're right. It should have been completely obvious. The moment I break, you'll make your move. Am I right? The figure nodded. The moment you so much as crack, I will be there. I guess I should be careful from now on then. Naruto said before fading away. Break. Naruto walked into the hospital room that Fu was sleeping in. When he walked in, he saw Yagura sitting in a chair next to her. Naruto hadn't expected him to still be there, as he was a few hours ago. I expected you to have gone to unpack some of your belongings in your new home. Naruto said as Yaura looked up at the new entrant. Yes, but I've been watching our newest friend. There is something I need to say, my friend. It took me a long time to become respected in my village. It took me saving it from destruction multiple times just for them to stop hating me. And yet, you, the sand jinchuriki, and she got the worst of it. I was able to keep tabs on the jinchuriki from the other villages. The ones from Iwa are feared and are not respected. The ones from Kumo are actually treated quite well for jinchuriki. Over the years they have reached rather good positions of respect in their own villages, but some still fear them. None are ever brave enough to attack them though, because one of them is the brother of the Raikage. Yagura said. I will accept your terms of becoming an Azu shinobi so long as you agree to bring all of the jinchuriki together. We all know the pain of the jinchuriki's burden. So I want you to bring them all together, in a place where they will get the respect they deserve for protecting people. Bring together the jinchuriki. Yagura finished. Your only stipulation for joining me is what I was already going to do. I accept. Naruto said as he sat down next to Yagura. I will tell you what I told Fu as I carried her out of her wretched village. She was unconscious, but I told her anyways. Do not worry now, I'm here to shatter the world that tries to make us suffer for the burdens we did not choose. Know this, Yagura, I will change this world into one of justice. One where we don't have to suffer the cruelty of those who cannot see past their own fear. Do not worry, I will keep my word. I will shatter this current world. Later on I would like it if you help me put together all the information on the jinchuriki. I will bring them together. Naruto said. Yagura nodded, pleased with his answer. We should wake her up now. The jinchuriki need to come together, as they should have a long time ago. Things have hindered us though. What do you mean? Naruto sighed. I mean that the jinchuriki should be united, and that things like those that hate us have hindered such a thing from happening. I intend for us to take up positions of power, that way we can truly stop the suffering this world has tried to inflict on us and itself. Now let's wake her. Yagura hesitated. The look in Naruto's eyes screamed the determination at what he was going to do. I thought you told this chronicle person that you didn't even intend on remaining as the Azukage once you accomplish your goals. Chronicle's views and goals are too simple. I will do what it takes to keep his help until I no longer need it. I do intend on bringing peace and justice to the world like I told him, but the position of power part was a lie. The jinchuriki need power to ensure that this world doesn't suffer, and that our eventual successes do not either. And while I can see the man's point of view, I will kill him if he gets in my way. The man's goals are good, trying to change the world for the better, but I must do what can to see my overall plans come to fruition. I believe I'm starting to understand a little bit more. But I have a question for you first. Why do you think we never left our villages? We have suffered so much at their hands, yet we always stayed. Why? The answer is simple, Yagura, we had no other place to go. We were brought up to believe it was our duty to protect our homes. Our villages. Now the world will be shown the folly of its actions against us. Now, let's wake her. Yagura nodded as Naruto placed a hand on the back of her neck. A seal appeared before fading away. It was a seal meant to keep people resting when they needed it. It took a few moments before Fu started to groan in protest to being woken. However, when she realized that she was no longer in the hard, damp, cold, and dark alley, but in a soft, warm, dry bed in a lit room, she nearly shot up. She had led a miserable life, but still had practiced in the shinobi arts. Her first thought was to assess the situation, but the stiffness in her limbs, arc in her bones, and hand on her shoulder kept her from going back into the mattress she was laying on. She looked around and saw the two standing over her. "Where am I?" Her voice was soft, but cracked and coarse at the same time due to her throat being so dry. She felt a cup come to her lips. Her first instinct was to refuse the drink that could be poisoned, but her much larger instincts for survival and the need to feel the cold liquid at her lips enter her throat overrid the first instinct, and she drank the water being offered her. "Hello, Fu. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and this is Yagura. We are your friends. Just calm down and I will explain," Naruto said. "You no longer have to worry about the village that made you suffer, my friend." She looked at him with a questioning look. "First of," he said with an amused look, "I destroyed a good portion of your village as we left it." He saw the look of horror in her face at what she had just heard. "You destroyed my village. That place is no longer your home. Do not cling to that place simply because you don't believe you have nowhere else to go. That leads me to my second thing. You are no longer in your old village. You are now home. Not this room, of course, but my village. Our village. Come with me and I will explain," Naruto said as he helped her out of the bed. She felt stiff, but feeling was starting to return as she stood up and moved. After she took the time to get her bearings and eat some food, Naruto took her and Yagura to the Azuki's tower before they used a lift to take them to the roof. When they got there, he led them to the edge where they looked out. "I should probably give you a more formal introduction. I am Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and the Shodime Azuki." He chuckled at her look of shock. "Welcome to Azushiogakur. Now then, how would you like to know how and why I intend to shatter the world?" Break. Conan walked through the halls of the tower in Am. She had something to discuss with her friend. As she entered the office of Pain, Tendo Pain, the primary path that Nagato used to represent himself, turned to greet her. She walked past him and entered into two double doors to see Nagato standing there, albeit shakily. The more pains in use, the harder it became for him to move. That was why he was a throne with large legs. When all 6 pains were in use, he would use it to move around. "Conan," he said, looking up at her with his Rinnegan, "is there something you need?" She stopped in front of him. "I wanted to talk with you. It's about the goals of the Akatsuki." She placed a hand on his shoulder and her voice became softer. "We long ago decided to support Yahiko in ending war and suffering in this world. Not only that, but this Naruto Uzumaki stopped the war in Mizu in less than a month. He is also part of your clan Nagato. I think we should rethink some of our goals. Think about what we could do with him on our side." Nagato grimaced. "I have been thinking about those things, Conan. But I don't know. Think of how far we have come with this ideal. We are so close to doing it. All we need is for the final preparations to be made and then go capture them. And yet, I have to wonder if this is right. I have to wonder what I should do. Nagato, while I want you to reconsider, I will always stand by you. You know that." He nodded at her words. "We shall see," he said. "There may come a time when the current me might want you to kill the me that I become." Break. A few weeks after getting Fu back on her feet and training with her and Yagura, Naruto stood in his office with a grim expression on his face. While he knew he was strong, he was not so foolish as to believe that he could stand against Jiraiya and or Tsunade in a one-on-one fight. "I want to shatter this world, and yet I can't even shatter those two. Well, as Azugakur grows, so will I." He turned away from the windows and walked to his desk. He looked at Fu and Yagura standing in front of his desk before asking them to leave, and then biting both of his thumbs before taking a few moments to wield individual seals. He placed his hands to the desk as smoke filled the room. On one side sat the small form of the elder toad, Fukasaku. On the other floated a Japanese dragon about half of Naruto's size. The dragon seemed to have a slight wrinkle to his face with an aged expression. It had golden eyes, a white mane of hair with black streaks flowing through it came down from the horned ridge at the back of the dragon's head. Its skin was a dark blue with a gray underbelly. When the dragon spoke, it commanded great authority, but sounded like the voice of a calm and wise old man. Hello Naruto. How have things been going with the young Fu you told us about? The dragon spoke. They have been going well, as has the village Ru. Things are going at a decent pace, though I fear that the traitorous Konoha will not fall for a few years. My allies are still recuperating, and I am too small to fight the world alone, even with your help. That is actually the reason I called you both here. You have told me about Sage Mode, and I have read the things you gave me and that I found in the Azu libraries. When Jiraiya uses Sage Mode, he takes on toad-like features, and then there have been others that have taken on other features depending on the clan they studied under. In the past, those who managed to achieve Sage Mode for the snakes approached a dragon-like state in the most uncontrolled versions. Throughout all of my findings, when they achieve full control, they're left with some of the best attributes. There aren't many enhancements a human being can undergo when using the Toad Sage Mode apart from the eyes, but when in water, those using this mode also grow webbed fingers and toes to enhance movement. So I would like it if you could tell me about the differences in Sage Modes. Naruto said before removing his Azukage robe and sitting down. Fukasaku spoke up. So, you want to start training in the Sage Arts? Yes. A large portion of Jiraiya's strength comes from the Sage Mode. I will need to counter him, blow for blow. So yes, I would like to start training in the arts. Ru spoke up this time. It has to do with the environment. The differences you spoke of. The flow of nature energy differs in the different places that the summons live. In Raichi Cave, the energy slithers around and strikes as if the chakra that makes up the place is a snake itself. On Mount Myoboku, it jumps from one place to another, rarely staying still for even a moment, or it swims as though the toads themselves were swimming. At the great cliffs of the birds, the energy flies through the air gracefully and glides on the wind. In the mountains of the elements where the dragons dwell, the energy flies like at the cliffs of the Averies, but there it is more fierce and graceful on the wind and on the land. Fukasaku continued the explanation. It is the way the body learns to use the nature energy. As the body learns to channel the nature energy through itself, it starts to take on features that come with the way the energy flows. The less control you have while trying to channel the energy of Mount Myoboku, the more toad-like you become. The same for the other places of the summons. It all has to do with the way the chakra flows in nature, and through the body. Naruto sat there thinking. Then he spoke a question that had occurred to him. What if one was to learn to channel the flow of two different contracts? Ru chuckled before continuing. I was once summoned by an Uzumaki so that an experiment of his friend could be recorded. Said Uzumaki was also able to use the contract of the bears. His friend, on the other hand, held the contracts of the snakes and the crows. They had both gone through the exceedingly difficult task of forcing their bodies to channel the nature energy in multiple directions, but only one at a time. The friend, however, tried to take it further. Ha had mastered the snake and crow. This gave him amazing flexibility, the senses of a snake, and an extra head that belonged to a snake coming from his lower back for the snake contract. Scales would grow around his eyes, along his forearms, and around the small of his back where the snake emerged from his back. When using the crows, his face would be framed by large, dark feathers that also formed a mane around his head and down his back. The feathers would also go down his arms, leading to the claws his hands would become. From his back would sprout large wings belonging to a crow. The wings would grow to a point where they slightly merged with his shoulders. He was magnificent with both of the Sage Modes, but had decided to take it to further and attempt to channel both flows at once. It was successful at first as he started to grow the scales and the feathers, then the wings and snake tail. It was magnificent to watch as he became a new and powerful force all his own. He created something new that day. Unfortunately, the stress ripped his body apart. He didn't survive. His body couldn't handle the stress of all that nature energy going in two different directions. Could I ask what clan he was from? Naruto asked. He was from no clan. Just an incredibly rare source of brilliance. And what of the Uzumaki? The Uzumaki that was there with him mourned the loss of his friend and decided to carry on his experiments. He pushed his own body to the limits by performing partial usage of the combination flows. His Uzumaki body was able to handle the stress a lot more. He was even able to maintain a full combination for a few seconds. Ru finished. What happened to him? Naruto asked. He eventually left Uzushio with his wife. But, one day, years later after he had had children, a group of bandits attacked him and he warded them off. He had challenged them and they didn't like it. The next day a small army of bandits came to his door and tried to kill his family. He summoned me himself, and we burned him alive. But these bandits had used some of their wealth to hire Ronin and missing Nin. These bandits had their hands in almost everything in that region. The man was brilliant, but even he couldn't stand alone and protect his family. He saw his son and daughter and wife dragged out of their home. Ru said, becoming solemn. We watched as his wife had her throat slit. He lost it and rushed into a combined sage mode. His arms became like those of bears, but with the claws of a dragon. His neck extended slightly as scales grew along his neck and on his face. He grew fur along ridges that grew at the back of his head. Large wings came from his back, as did a large tail with spikes and ridges along it. Fur grew in patches as his teeth extended and he became more feral in appearance. He let loose a roar that I swear shook the ground before rushing to his children and surrounding them with his wings before breathing a wave of fire that wiped out everything near him. The remaining bandits and such retreated. After that the group of bandits collapsed because he had killed most of their high-ranked members, as well as most of their members in general. He had saved his children, but at the cost of his own life. His body was able to handle the stress for a time, but he pushed himself to the limit and beyond. It cost him more than it should have. He lay dying and his last words were for his children to live. They were in shock at what had happened, couldn't move. I was forced to take them to another location and leave them in the care of some other people. I don't know what happened to them though. I'm sorry to say that I couldn't find them after that. When I went back for them the place was destroyed and I couldn't find them. It fills me with sadness even now. Naruto nodded. How long ago was this? The event with the two children being moved was about 20 years ago. Uzushio was destroyed 11 years by that point though. Why? I was wondering something. How old were the two children? The sister was 9, the brother 8. They should be 29 and 8 now. The brother would only be about twice your age at this point. It seems so long ago, yet your parents were still alive back then. It was only 6 years before you were born. Naruto nodded. Thank you for the story, my friend. Do you have any of the Uzumaki's research? Yes, I will get them for you soon enough. Though I assume that you will be unique in the fact that your regeneration abilities and Uzumaki blood will allow you to withstand it for a longer period of time. Thank you for your words. I will talk to you later then. Also, before you go, I wanted to know about the other 5 valid names still on the contract besides my own. I know that one is my grandfather Kamaji, but what about the others? I knew you would. Ru said. 2 of them are the 2 offspring. I have been unable to reverse summon the brother because while they have a connection to the contract, they have yet to try to summon a dragon, therefore they have yet to establish a complete connection to us. So for now it's not something I can do. But the sister, I did manage to eventually find. But they have told me not to reveal them to anyone else. The brother is still lost to me. The 3rd is your grandfather. The 4th, I have a theory, but I don't know yet because he is in the same boat as the first brother. The other one, he thought for a moment, the 5th name. Roku Uzumaki, should not be possible. I have no clue why that name is still on the list. It should have become invalid long ago. I will look into it. Other than that, I will talk with you later. Ru said before he disappeared. So, Fukasaku, what do you plan to do now? Naruto asked. Naruto boy, I intend to help you. Just like I told you I would before. Don't worry, when you give the word Jiraiya will lose our help. Yes, now remember, even if he is using you to fight me you cannot leave him until I give the word. Promise me that. I want to see him crushed and defeated as his entire world drops out from under all at once. I ask that you not act until I give the word. Fukasaku nodded before he disappeared as well. Naruto stood up and looked out over what he could see of the island nation. I wonder what's going to happen now. What will you other dragon summoners do? And you, Roku Uzumaki? Ru seemed shocked that your name was still there. So why, who are you people? He smirked. It would seem that the jinchuriki aren't the only people I need to gather. Break. So staying dead didn't work. I wonder what degree I will need to influence events once again to keep this world from going into chaos. Though, I guess I have stopped doing what I promised my parents and myself. I have not kept peace. I have left this world to rot so long as it does not cause chaos. I should probably come back and truly intervene in the events of the world. The white-robed man thought to himself. He was sitting down against a wall with his black sword in his lap, and his long green hair over his shoulders so that it didn't touch the ground or wall. He saw a small blaze open up in front of him as he stood up. I wondered when you would call me, he said before the blaze opened to reveal an ornate, red door with nothing behind it. He opened it and walked through before the door disappeared. He looked around to find himself in a massive underground chamber with several doors of varying sizes and qualities. Why here of all places, Ru? Because I wasn't the only one that wanted to talk to you, Roku. He looked up to see Ru sitting in front of the great dragon sage. The sage was immense in size and stature. It looked exceedingly old, and yet kept the air of authority that matched his immense size and even greater power. The dragon had the horns of a stag, sharp teeth, green skin with a light underbelly, red eyes, a long serpentine body with his tail taking up 3/4 of his length, long flowing whiskers, a long snout, and flowing green hair on his cheeks. He seemed to coil around himself as he shifted to come down to eye level with Roku. It has been a long time, the fierce voice said. It was deep and menacing, though calm and soothing at the same time. Yes, it has, my old friend. So, I assume you want to know how I'm still alive. That is correct. I don't know why you are so shocked considering my lineage. I would have expected you to know better, old man, Roku said, teasing the friend that was only older than him by a few dozen centuries. I told you before when we last fought together, Shenron, it will take more to kill me than even you would expect. Yes you did. So tell me, why return after so long? I can see it. We only found you because you wanted to be found. Things are shifting. My old village is back on the rise with this Azukage. I think it's about time I got back to my duties and the great sage's successor, he said as the color in his hair started to liquefy, and then flow from his hair onto the ground. He now looked younger with his dark red hair going down to his waist as it seemed more vibrant than before. Now then, what can you tell me about this new Uzumaki? Break. Naruto was walking down the streets of Konoha with his black traveling cloak concealing his features. He was in the same clothing he had used before when combating Sasuke. Instead of rushing, he was walking towards the Hokage's office at a leisurely pace after having left a note for the Chum and Hana to head to the Hokage's office. It was only a few more moments before he was at the tower and in front of the office door. The secretary tried to stop him before he simply walked in to see Chum and Hana trying to figure out why Tsunade had summoned them. I didn't tell you to, who are you? Tsunade said as he walked in. Naruto noticed that Sasuke was standing in a corner of the room. Sakura was standing next to him. No doubt Sasuke was waiting for more news about him. Sakura was no doubt trying to win Sasuke over as per usual. Well, I think that you should know me quite well, Naruto said before the secretary came after him. I'm sorry, Lady Hokage. I tried to stop him. It's fine. According to him, I know him, Tsunade said, waving for the assistant to leave. The secretary closed the door on the way out. Naruto pulled away his hood to show his face. Everyone was too shocked to move except Tsunade, who was instantly over her desk to rush him. In less than a second, Sakura shook her own shock, and was behind him to do the same thing. Tsunade was at him with her fist raised. The fist made contact with his face before phasing through it and impacting Sakura's face instead. Sakura was instantly flying through the door. The Hokage was then on the other side of Naruto with a stunned look on her face. What's wrong, Lady Hokage? Naruto said, sarcasm in his voice as he said her title. Did you think I would come here in person? Or did you expect my bunshin to be solid as usual? No, a non-solid one fits my purposes nicely. When did you gain the control to perform a basic bunshin? Tsunade asked. Irrelevant. What is relevant is why I brought Hana and Chum here. That was you? Chum asked, her hatred dripping from her voice. She knew that trying to kill him wouldn't work. Yes. Now, when I killed Kiba, he did ask me to relay his last words. Chum tried to punch him. Her hand was in a wall the next second after phasing through him. She removed it easily enough. Naruto sprouted a smile on his face. He was happy to embellish what came next. His main goal was to throw them off as much as possible. Blind them with their rage. After he begged for his life, Naruto said as the smile became diabolical, after I burnt him alive, he told me to tell you that he was sorry he didn't stay alive like he promised you. He was pathetic as he begged for his life in his last moments. I was merciful and decapitated him. I gave him the death he begged for. As my sword come down he thanked me. Naruto said before chuckling. Shut up. Hana shouted. Naruto stopped chuckling before his face became serious. Tell me why I should listen to orders given to me by pathetic people like you and Kiba and Chum. You are all so pathetic. And if you think you can command me, I will not hesitate to kill you. Shut up. What happened next was so shocking that no one could stop it until it was too late. There was a distortion in the air as Naruto rushed forward with a tanto in his hand. He grabbed Hana by the neck before pulling her to her knees. He was instantly behind her before diving the blade into the base of her skull, only for it to come out of her left eye. She was dead before her body hit the ground. The silence passed for only a moment before Chum screamed and collapsed to her knees. Her hand was stretched towards her daughter's lifeless form. Her voice was hollow, broken, and showed how much she was trying not to cry. How could you do something like this? How? She said as her arm fell to her side. Are you asking me how I did it when I was a basic bunshin, or are you asking how I could have the heart to kill her like that right in front of you? I'll tell you both. First, did you not expect me to take precautions against anything that could happen? I have planned things out most of my life. This was easy. You were too blinded by your rage at me to ask how a basic bunshin opened the door. That should have given me away. I had a solid bunshin enter the room, but by the time you noticed it the solid and non-solid had already made the switch. Then it was only a matter of the solid one coming back in from its hiding place. As for how I could do that to her and you, I wanted to. She wouldn't stop trying to command me. I warned her. But then, you did betray me, Chum. Your clan was happy to watch me burn after I had kept the Kyuubi at bay all those years. I was only happy to stand here and watch as you die on the inside. No children. No heirs. All alone. She was at him in a moment. She had him pinned to the wall by his neck. This won't kill you, but you will still get the memories of having your throat ripped out. She said as she raised her hand to rip his neck open. And what of my parents? Naruto said, causing her to falter. They died because of the sins of this village. They died because this village wiped out the Uzumaki clan. Imagine how much easier the Kyuubi would have been contained if a few extra Uzumaki had been alive, trying to contain him. I really don't think you understand. One day this village will burn for all of its sins. Naruto said before breaking Chum's grip and charging at Sasuke with another blade. He was caught by the wrist by Tsunade before having his arm broken and being thrown into the wall. Sasuke looked panicked at what just happened. You keep saying I'm your friend, but you keep trying to kill me. Sasuke said with a shaky voice. Once again you misunderstand my friend. I'm not trying to kill you. Naruto said with a smile on his face. What would I do without you? Go back to tormenting Chum over there. No. You. Complete me. Ha ha ha. Naruto stopped laughing and sighed. Tell me Naruto, am I really your friend? I'm starting to think you really are nothing but a monster. Don't talk like one of them, you're not. Even if you'd like to be. To them, you're just a freak, like me. They need you right now. But when they don't, they'll cast you out, like a leper. See? Their morals, their code, it's a bad joke. Dropped at the first sign of trouble. They're only as good as the world allows them to be. I'll show you, when the chips are down, these civilized people. They'll eat each other. See? I'm not a monster, I'm just ahead of the curve. Naruto sighed. Do not trust these people, Sasuke. Not one bit. You will one day learn the truth I promised you. At the end of his words Tsunade leaned down, gripped him by the neck and slammed him into the wall. Tell me where you are so I can come down there and kill you myself. Naruto laughed with insanity leaking into the laughter. You have nothing to threaten me with. Nothing to do with all your strength. He laughed even more. I wasn't trying to kill Sasuke, I wanted to see what you would do. And you didn't disappoint. But you know what, I really don't feel like having those memories of you killing me. So, for now I bid you farewell. Naruto said before he disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Chum punched the wall as Sasuke fell to his knees. What's happening? How could things have gotten like this? Sasuke thought to himself. Tsunade screamed in frustration. Someone get Sakura out of the hall to the hospital. Tell me if I broke anything and I'll fix it myself. I'm going to need to train her like Jiraiya is going to be training Sasuke. Tsunade thought to herself. Break. Naruto stood on the docks as another ship came in. The first ship had carried 50 of their new members, this one was here to give them the rest. Naruto stood there with Hinata and Shino at his sides, as well as Karen and Kamaji behind him. He had gotten word that some of these new members of the new Orb Union were going to have bloodlines. Kekkei Genkai. He wondered what these new people would bring to him. They were only slightly above his level and that excited him. They were new additions to his force, and they would be valued. Before they got there he had received a scroll from Kyuki with some of their bios. Most of them were ninja. The first was Bai Han. Bai Han wore all black cloths. His pants, the light armor strapped to his leg below the knee, his shoes, his long sleeve shirt, the light armor strapped to his forearms, his gloves, the armor he wore over his torso and just over his shoulders, the armored flap hanging down to just above his knees, the hood over his head, and the armored mask that covered all but his eyes which were completely white. The eyes looked as though a white haze drifted through them. The man had an exceedingly powerful mother from the Nara clan. Grandmother had left Konoha before his mother was born and had stayed in snow. He had eventually trained under her to perfect his shadow abilities to the point that he could control them so well that it was more apt to say that he controlled the darkness itself. His abilities had eventually surpassed his mother's, and then he had left home with his brother to live in a zoo. Bai Han's brother was Kuai Liang. While Bai Han had trained under their mother, Kuai Liang had trained under their father to hone his abilities with ice. His father had been from the Yuki clan and had escaped Mizu during the purge. Kuai Liang dressed similarly to his older brother, however, there were differences. First was that his cloths were blue instead of black apart from his pants and undershirt. Another difference was that the only thing covering his arms was the stylized metal armor that was strapped to his upper arms, the black, fingerless gloves, as well as the stylized metal armor that went over his gloves and was strapped to his forearms by blue cloth strips. There was also stylized armor over his lower legs, as well as on the large belt around his waist. Another fact that Naruto found interesting was that they often went by the code names Noob Saibot and Sub-Zero, respectively. The next one on the list was Hanzo Hasashi. Not to be mistaken for Hanzo the Salamander, he often went by the name Scorpion. Though his nickname came from the armor he was often wearing. The armor plating over his torso was a deep yellow, with multiple serrated plates that ended in a pointed flap hanging down to his knees. The armor on his torso also had two jagged pieces going along his ribs on both sides. There were also two large points going up his shoulders. In the middle of his chest there was a large, black crystal framed by his dark yellow armor. Both of his arms were bare apart from the black, leather gauntlets with dark yellow metal rings segmenting them and large blades on the sides. His left arm had a dark yellow band with a diamond pattern wrapped around the upper part of it. His shoulders were covered in black cloth that slightly jutted out. Over that there were two jagged spikes coming over his shoulders next to his neck that were made of the dark yellow metal. His pants were black and appeared to be made of strips of cloth wrapped around him. His boots were made of the dark yellow metal in serrated segments. He had a black hood over his head with a dark yellow, metal mask covering most of his face. He also had 4 swords. The first 2 were on his back with the handles coming up over his shoulders. The blades themselves were jagged. The other 2 blades were at his hips. The blades on his hips were both katanas with yuo, metal stingers on the pommels, yellow handles with black strips wrapped around them. The guard of the sword was in the shape of a stylized figure 8. The guard was black with a yellow frame, stylized yellow lines around the middle, and blades around it. The scabbard of the blades was black with dark yellow metal on the end of it. Scorpion had come to a zoo with Sub-Zero and his brother because he had originally thought that the brothers had slaughtered his clan. However, the brothers had revealed that someone else had been the cause of the massacre. The 3 had worked together to find and kill the person. Once this was done, Scorpion had offered his thanks and services to the brothers because they had helped him avenge his clan. When the 50 new members of the Orb Union were off the ship, they stood in front of Naruto as he introduced them to their new home. Welcome. I hope you all enjoy your time here in your new village. My friend Karen here, Naruto said as he gestured behind him to Karen standing behind him, will show you to your new homes once we get back to the village. Naruto said before he turned around and started to walk back towards the village with his new villagers in tow. Now, with this place growing, it will only be a matter of time now. Naruto thought to himself as a smile graced his face. He then felt the bunchen sent to Konoha disperse before his smile grew. You know, that was really screwed up of you. Perhaps you're becoming more like me. I might not have to make a move when you break. He heard in his mind. Well, until such a time as you have something useful to say, or you make your move, I would like it if you stayed quiet. Naruto thought towards the voice. Whatever. It responded. Break. Kakuzu and Sasori were walking on a road surrounded by trees, heading towards the mission they had been hired for to build funds for the Akatsuki. Kakuzu was trying to restrain himself from killing Sasori. Sasori was trying to convert Kakuzu to his religion of puppets. He stopped for a moment to start bashing his head into a tree. I traded an immortal idiot who kept trying to convert me, for a non-immortal trying to convert me. Only this time, I was ordered not to try and kill this one. Break. It had been 3.5 years since Naruto had gone to Konoha to incite what rage he could. Over the years he had started working on the Sage mode for the Toads of Moyoboku and mastered it in little over 4 months. Training under the Dragon Sages had been a different matter though. It had taken him a month just to start channeling the chakra in the manner of the dragons of the elemental mountains. There, the elements could shift in such ways that it took seeing them for Naruto to start believing he might have lost his mind. Giant rocks floated in the air, water could be breathed, the ice could burn you alive, and the fire freeze you, and the land itself swallow you alive. It was magnificent. However, his training was still far from perfect as Naruto had yet to master the full Sage mode. When he tried entering it he became more reptilian than human, and some of his animalistic side took over, becoming harder to control himself. Over time he had grown taller, his voice had changed, his hair had grown out to the bottoms of his shoulder blades. This gave him the appearance of having a spike mane. He had, of course, cut away the red when his hair was grown enough. Now he wore his Azu Hitai on his forehead, though he usually kept it hidden when he left the village. He had not been the only one to shed disguises as Hinata had cut away the dyed hair and then let it grow down to her waist. She had also removed her contacts. Shino had not changed much apart from getting taller. Another thing that had progressed was his training with Kurama, his team, and his fellow jinchuriki. He had gotten to the point that he could call forth the three-tailed state of Kurama's power while still maintaining perfect control. So far, however, he had hit a roadblock at controlling the four-tailed state. Fu and Yagura were much further along as over time they had managed to convince their own tenants to open up to them. While they had not gotten along with them all the time, the Beiyu were sometimes cooperative. They didn't give them full control, nor had their jinchuriki removed the locks that restrained their tenants, but the Beiyu in Fu and Yagura would often allow them to use the full extent of their version 2 modes. Naruto currently had only the capabilities of his most powerful version 1 state. With his friends, Naruto had made great progress to ensure that they were exceedingly powerful on the battlefield. The strategy Naruto came up with was meant for restraining enemies easily. Its only flaw was that it required his enemies to underestimate him, and once that was gone it was worthless without the element of surprise. However, that was unimportant at the moment as Naruto's sage training was not the only thing he had learned over the years. Over time he had focused plenty of time on the contents of the Forbidden Scroll. He had prepared himself for what was to come and was ready to test the extent of his new power. Naruto was standing in a shadowed room as he flew through the necessary hand signs. When he finished he slammed them to the ground with a smile on his face. The smile only grew with the sound of the ground cracking. He stood up with his own forbidden scroll on his back. The scroll was large with 2 golden dragon heads on the ends. His enhanced vision saw everything clearly as it emerged and the figure stood there. Naruto, how are you here? Well, if you look around I think you will find the answer staring you in the face. The Forbidden Scroll. No. That's different. Yes it is. On the day of the Forbidden Scroll incident you missed me strip the scroll of everything I could. It now resides in the Forbidden Scroll of Azushiogakur. I see. So that's how did you say Azushiogakur? Yes I did. And now, because of your mistakes, I will force you to watch as my new home burns yours to the ground. You see, they betrayed me. What do you mean? Azu was destroyed. And what do you mean they betrayed you? I thought that You did try to fix it, but I never told them. I wanted to see what they would do, and they didn't disappoint. Now, as for Azu, it was destroyed, now I shall destroy your home as you did mine. It is now rebuilt and ready to act. I see. So is that why? No. Not yet. First you must witness as I tear down their world in the most perfect way possible. I will give them hope. You will watch as I dangle hope before them before I snatch it away and step on their necks. I will torture them, but not of their bodies, of their souls. I will make stopping me seem so easy. So simple. And like shipwrecked men turning to sea water from uncontrollable thirst, many will die trying. I learned back in Konoha that there can be no true despair without hope. The hope I had that I could become Hokage and change their view of me. So, as I terrorize Konoha, I will feed its people hope to poison their souls, like they did to me. I will let them believe they can survive so that you can watch them clamoring over each other to stay in the sun. You can watch me torture an entire hidden village, and when you have truly understood the depth of your failure, I will fulfill my word, I will destroy Konoha, and then, when it is done and Konoha is ashes, then you have my permission to die. That is why. You will watch helplessly as I step on burn everything you have ever stood for right in front of your eyes. Naruto stopped to compose himself. I see. Would it help if I said I was sorry? Is it too late to say that? Is it meaningless to apologize? Never. Naruto said before pausing. However, it won't stop me. Everything you held dear will burn. There was a knock at the door. Naruto went to it and opened it. It was Shino. Naruto, Ru is waiting for you in your office. He says you can talk with Shenron now. Shino said. Good. Then Shino noticed the figure in the shadows. So you did it. Was it difficult getting in and retrieving? No, it wasn't, Shino. If you thought it was difficult, then you obviously haven't been paying attention. Naruto said with a small smile. You're right, I should have expected it to be simple with how pathetic Konoha has become over the years. Shino said, giving a barely seen smile. That you should, my friend. Now let's go. We don't want to keep him waiting. As powerful as we are, Shenron could still wipe our home of the map if he wanted to. Naruto said before he turned and said goodbye to the figure in the shadows and then heading to his office. So Shino, how are things going with your training, as well as that other thing? They're going quite well. As for the other thing though, she thought I was joking. Well, what did you expect? She is 11 years older than you. Naruto said. Yes, I know. Shino said. Naruto stopped him with a hand of his friend's shoulder. Give it time, Shino. Eventually, who knows? You might find someone better, or she might change her mind. They continued to walk. Yes, you're right. However, Anko and I have similar interests. Why do you think I put you two in charge of our interrogation division when some of the missions we get from Suna and Kiri call for it? I know what interests you two share. Naruto said. He swore he heard a small chuckle. Yes, but you, her, and I share a bond. I would like to think that she sees me the same way I see her. Well, for now you can't do much. Just wait for the time being. Shino nodded as they came to a stop in front of Naruto's office. I will see you later then. Shino said before walking back down the hall. Naruto opened the door to see Ru sitting on his desk. Greetings, Ru, how are things? They are well, and you? They're fine. Naruto said. So what of this meeting with Shenron? Come with me. Ru said before they both disappeared. In seconds, Ruin was standing in front of Shenron. It was finally time to get answers from them. Naruto was standing in front of the great dragon sage, staring at Shenron with a look that told the dragon sage why he was there. So, young Naruto, you will no longer wait for us to tell you of the other Uzumaki. No. After all these years you have still yet to tell me. I want to know about my remaining family. I will no longer wait. Fine. 2 of them you already know I cannot bring here, one has had us promise never to reveal her, and one we cannot bring here because he already is. What do you mean? Naruto asked. He means, came a new voice as a man in white robes and with red hair walked out from behind a pillar, that you can't take someone where they already are. He walked up to Naruto before stopping in front of him. Greetings, Naruto. I am Roku Uzumaki. His eyes started to change. I am your ancestor. Black rings shot out of the man's pupil with a sea of purple. I am the immortal, first Uzumaki. He said, standing there with his Rinnegan shining in all its glory. I am the Nadaime Rikudo Sennin. I am the second sage of the 6 paths. Break. Chronicle was once again dreaming as he saw what he considered the least clear thing he had ever seen. He could see as the blurs rushed around what looked like a home. It seemed as though he was looking out of the eyes of a small boy as everything moved too quickly to get details. He saw a feminine figure rushing to him. We need to get to the bedroom. Hurry. Your father will protect us. The woman said in a voice that echoed and seemed to shift like his vision. He could see his vision shift to what looked like a window as fire flared to life outside. He heard wood break as a door was busted and men came in. He saw them grab the women and then him before dragging him out. He could see very little apart from the fire that blazed to life nearby. He could hear screams that were silenced before everything seemed to stop. He turned to see blood fly across his vision before a monstrous roar shook the ground at his feet. Everything seemed to detach as light showed in his vision. Chronicle shot upward. He was on his feet as he grabbed the bed he had been sleeping in and flung it across the room, causing it to break apart and put small holes in the wall. No! Chronicle yelled to the vision he had just seen. He was hunched over, his breathing labored. He didn't know why, but he could feel tears falling down his face. I couldn't save them. He looked at his hands. What was that? Was that what I've been waiting for? Is it starting to come together? What in the world is happening to me? Chronicle said to himself. He stood up straight as he calmed his breathing. He quickly got dressed and left the room. He needed to think. Perhaps that's why the memories are so hard to see. I repressed them. Obviously I'm hiding something from myself. Now all I need to do is figure out what that is. Chronicle thought to himself as he walked towards the mess hall for some food. Break. The woman stood on the crest of the hill as she stared at the small medallion in her hand. The woman was beautiful. She had dark blue eyes, a slim figure, and short, curly, dark red hair that barely touched her shoulders. Her clothing was a black shirt and pants with small padding along her arms, legs, and torso. Her feet were covered in simple black, leather shoes. At her hip was a small, plain dagger. The medallion in her hand was made of metal and had a simple carving. She saw a small vision of her father giving it to her. Never forget that no matter where you are an Uzumaki. She heard his voice tell her. The carving on the medallion had 3 spirals going in a counterclockwise direction with their end meeting an outside point of the next one, thus forming a triskele, or a triple spiral. Her voice was soft and elegant as she spoke. I think I might be getting close, brother. Just give me more time. You and I will finally be together again. Then, we might just find the ones who did this to us. Then this world will know the wrath of the dragon summoners of the Uzumaki clan. Then, perhaps we should join this Naruto that Shenron told me about. She then opened the medallion to reveal a picture. There was a man with long, straight red hair, a woman with straight, dark brown hair that touched her shoulders, a small girl in the arms of the father with dark red curly hair, and a small, 2-year-old boy with barely any of his almost black hair growing in. The boy was held in the mother's arms. Yes, brother. I will find you. The woman said to herself. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.